Hey friends, my name is Joey and welcome back to my channel, Gender Not Found.
Yeah,
Excuse me. I'm gonna try and do a couple chapters of A Guardian Angel. I'm gonna do at least two and maybe three. So, let's go. Just give me a second to get this set up. I'm pretty sure I don't have to, okay. Oh, alright, it worked. Yay, I don't have to do the, captcha again. I hate that. Chapter 17. S'more love and s'more s'mores, please. Fiona woke feeling extremely comfortable and more than warm. Smiling, she kept her eyes closed just a bit longer, nuzzling her face into the warmth she was resting on. She could feel the vibrations of his humming in his chest, and she could hear him too. Fiona just did not want to wake up. She wanted to sleep forever, and thinking everything through, technically, she could, because starting next Monday it would be spring break. She didn't even know what time it was. The last thing the blonde remembered was Marshall giving her 5 more minutes to sleep. Marshall was humming every song he could think of to keep from letting boredom take over. Just as he finished one, he heard the sound of someone descending the steps, and looking over, he spotted Fiona's mother making her way over with a bowl of food. I can't believe she slept so long. It's like she went on a trek in the middle of the night and wore herself out, the blonde said, handing the bowl to Marshall, who graciously accepted it. Yeah, who gratefully accepted it. Yeah, she was exhausted, but the smell of food will probably wake her up, Marshall said, taking a bite of the chicken and broccoli Alfredo. You want something to drink, hon? We have fruit punch. Sure. Ellen walked back up the stairs, and in moments, just as he brought another forkful of food to his mouth, Fiona grabbed his hand and angled the fork and quickly devoured his food. That was yummy. Hello to you, too. Can I have some more? Fiona asked, turning her head to face Marshall, but still not getting up. If you get up, you can have your own bowl. The blonde simply frowned. But yours is here now. Rolling his eyes with a smirk, Marshall took another forkful and fed the blonde, who smiled in appreciation. Happy? Yes. Oh, Fiona, sweetie, you're awake. I'll bring a bowl right down for you, Ellen said, placing the glass of punch on the table and once again climbing the stairs. Look, see, you get your own food, Marshall said, scooting over as Fiona sat up. Now I get 2 bites of yours. Why? I'm fading away, Marsh. Can't you see they starve me here? The blonde said with a laugh. Yeah, you're all skin and bones. Fee, look, food. Quickly, Fiona turned her head, accepting the warm bowl from her mother, who smiled at her happily. I'm glad to see you awake, honey, Ellen said, giving the girl a kiss on the top of the head before walking back up the stairs to the kitchen. Is it me, or does Mom seem a bit more squishy than usual? She's been down to check up on you more than 5 times, Fee. It's almost 6:30 at night. You seriously slept all day. Wow, I did? The blonde asked with another yawn. Yup, and what do you mean squishy? How can someone be squishy? Marshall asked, tilting his head to look at Fiona. I don't know, all the food service, letting us eat dinner not at the table, the hugs, the kisses, and fluttery stuff. It's hard to describe, Fiona said, staring at her bowl of food. Then suddenly an idea came to her, one that she didn't like. The look on her face so suddenly changed that Marshall felt a twinge of concern. Fee, what's wrong? I think she feels guilty, Marshall, like what happened was her fault. You think she feels responsible for what happened with that freak? She didn't know who he was. He was just a client from her job, and every now and then when work runs late, she'll send them over here. I think she feels responsible for what happened. I'll be back in a minute, Marsh, Fiona said, pushing herself up and walking towards the stairs, quickly climbing them and entering the kitchen. It was filled with food. Cakes, cookies, brownies, and pies were all littering the counters. She knew her mom stress baked, but still. Wow. She walked over, glancing in the dining room, but not spotting her parents. Making her way room by room Fiona, through the first floor of the house, Fiona finally made it into her parents' office. Ellen, it's all right. She could never hate you. But what if she does? Steve, it's all my fault if I never sent that man here. Just thinking about what he did to her makes me sick to my stomach. I know. And it's not your fault, Ellen. You didn't know. Neither of us knew, so if that's the case, I'm just as much to blame. What? Now both of her parents felt this way? Fiona couldn't just stand there listening anymore, and she pushed the door open. It's nobody's fault, and I could never hate either of you, never. Please don't be sad, she said softly, not knowing at all how to handle this situation. Her looked quickly to Fiona before her mother burst into tears, startling her before grabbing the blonde and hugging her tightly. Ma, stop it. I can't breathe. Curious about what was taking Fiona so long, Marshall made his way up the stairs and was immediately distracted by the copious amounts of sugary sweets. He paused staring at them all before grabbing several cookies and a brownie from the tray. Hey, he was still hungry. Just as he was about to set off to find Fiona, something nudged his leg, and looking down he spotted Cake. Hey you, they feed you yet? The cat simply meowed up a storm at him, and Marshall had a feeling that she'd been hungry all day. Sorry, kitty, he said, reluctantly putting his goodies down and making way to a cabinet where he knew some tuna was. They'd have to buy some cat food. After dishing out the food to the hungry Cake, Marshall grabbed his snacks and eventually found Fiona sandwiched between her two parents. Finally, she was released and she was panting for breath. Her mom looked like she wanted to hug her again, and before she could do so, Marshall spoke up, sensing Fiona's urgent need to escape the overwhelming amounts of love. Hey, can I bring Fiona over to FP's place? He was gonna have a bonfire tonight. This snapped her parents out of whatever sense they were in. Yes, sure, of course, Ellen said quickly with a smile. I'll pack you some snacks to bring over. With that, she walked from the room. I'm going to make sure Ellen doesn't make any more. They watched as Steve left the room, leaving only Marshall and Fiona. I never thought I'd ever say it, but there's such a thing as being loved too much, Fiona said with a shudder. Give me a minute to get changed and we'll head over, okay? Sure thing. It didn't take long, and in less than 10 minutes the two were making their way over to where they knew FP would be making a blaze, Fiona carrying armfuls of cookies and brownies, and Marshall a few bags of homemade marshmallows. He had no idea how she did it, but it seemed Fiona's mom could make anything. Luckily for the two, FP wasn't drinking tonight. He did, however, have bars of chocolate in his truck, and the three commenced into making s'mores. So what's up, girlie? FP asked, passing her another marshmallow, which she and spewed and held over the roaring blaze. Nothing much, really. It's April vacation, so no school this week. You guys? Same old crap, Chicky. Oh, the prom is coming up. Want to come with me? he asked with a wink. No thanks, Drunka Matata, Fiona said with a laugh, not noticing Marshall's scowl towards FP. Oh, you saw that? Yep, sure did. Ah, I will go with Marshall, though, if you're going, of course, Fiona said with a blush tinting her cheeks, making Marshall blink at the out-of-character boldness. Of course I'm going, and I was going to ask you anyways. When is yours? The 30th. Yours? The 3rd. Why would they make it on a Tuesday? That's just weird, Marshall said as Fiona shrugged. No idea. So which one do you want to go to? Why not both? I'll buy the tickets. What? Oh, come on, Marsh. Seriously, dude? I can't take Fiona at least once? FP said with a grin, trying and succeeding to get a rise out of him. No. Why not? Because she's mine, he said, punctuating the point by pulling Fiona closer to him. Wow, dude, I get it. Do you? Marshall asked with a scowl, knowing that FP was trying to get him mad. Yeah, he said with a laugh. Good. Crap. Quickly he pulled his forgotten marshmallow from the fire. The white poofy confection lit up like the Olympic torch, and because he pulled it from the flames so quickly, the marshmallow flew from the stick and into the air, quickly lost in the darkness. Fiona burst out laughing, and FP rolled on the ground, practically howling. Shaking his head, Marshall simply speared another marshmallow, holding it over the fire. Suddenly they heard a splat, and FP was yelling up a storm. Dude, it burns! Crap! Get it off, get it off, get it off me! Now it was Marshall's turn to laugh. The marshmallow landed right on FP from its descent back to Earth. Fiona shook her head, suppressing a laugh and making a chocolate s'more from 2 brownies. So, the prom, huh? Yeah, it'll be all old fashioned. I'll be all I'll be all old fashioned and get you flowers and stuff if you want, he said, scratching the back of his head. Marsh, just do what you want. I'm sure I'll love it either way. You s- you sure? Definitely, she said with a smile. As the hours continued on, the fire started to dim. FP had already run out of burnable materials to keep the fire going. It was late, or early rather, nearing 5 in the morning, and because they were only next door, Fiona's parents didn't mind. The sky was starting to lighten and the stars were fading away. Birds were chirping, and the sky was becoming a clear, crisp blue. All of them were asleep outside. FP had fallen asleep in the chair. His marsh his marshmallow stick burnt to ashes in his hands. Fiona slept silently, her legs hanging over the arm of her chair, her head resting on Marshall's shoulder, and Marshall slept, his head leaning on Fiona's. It was looking to be a bright, promising sunny day without a cloud in the sky. Uh-oh. Okay, I will be right back with another chapter, and I'm getting really nervous because they said it was going to be a bright sunny day, and Marshall just fell asleep without, like, his hoodie and his suntan lotion and his other stuff, I think. So, It's making me kind of nervous, so hopefully nothing bad happens. I will be right back. Okay, I had to use the bathroom, but I'm back with another. Son of a bitch. I had to use the bathroom, but I'm back with another chapter where I'm very scared for Marshall's safety because I don't think he has like a hoodie or gloves or sunscreen or like anything, any of his protective measures for when he's in the sun. So I'm getting really worried that something bad is about to happen. And also, the next chapter of the book, well, the author's note of the last chapter, he wrote, oh, in the next chapter, Fiona meets Marshall's mom. Like, I skimmed through the author's notes when I got back from the bathroom, and it says, Fiona meets Marshall's mom. The next chapter is halfway done. Fiona meets Marshall's mom. So, I am very, very, very nervous. And why do I have the feeling something bad is about to happen? Okay, but we're gonna read chapter 18. And hopefully nothing bad happens. Although I get the feeling something's gonna. Okay. Chapter 18, Parents to the Rescue. Marshall's eyes slowly opened, registering the now searing pain in his arm and the brightness, and blinking blearily, he winced now wide awake. Quickly he jumped more out of shock than anything, and fell from his chair, waking Fiona as her human pillow was jerked from beneath her. Ah, crap, this hurts, he hissed, moving deep into the shadow of the tree closest to him, feeling more than lucky that the tree's shadow had covered the majority of him. Ah, crap, this hurts. Oh, never mind. Wait, I already read that. Marsh, what? It's morning. She gasped suddenly, making her way over to Marshall, who was covering his arm with his sleeve. Don't touch it. Crap. Marsh, you have to let me see it, Fiona said, grabbing his arm and pulling the sleeve up and gaping in shock. His arm was seriously raw, red, and burned. Flip, dude. Okay, let's get you inside like ASAP, Fiona said, grabbing his arm. Wait. You go across the street and get the door open, and I'll run after so I can go right in. Okay, I'll get my parents, but I think. Okay, I'll get my parents. I think Dad might know first aid. The blonde said, running diagonally across the street as Marshall scoped out the area, really wishing he had his hoodie right about now. He spotted several trees, and when Fiona called over to him, waving an umbrella, he breathed a sigh of relief and watched as she walked over. Dude, I forgot those existed, Marshall said with a sigh as Fiona opened the umbrella, handing it to him, keeping the shade constantly on the tall teen. You okay? Y- you okay? I really just need to get inside and smother myself in sunblock, he said, entering Fiona's house quickly, both of her parents already in the hall. Don't worry, Marshall, you're in capable hands. Steve was a volunteer fireman when he was younger, so he knows all about fixing out burns, Ellen said, pulling him into the kitchen, Steve following as Fiona put away the umbrella with a sigh of relief. She wondered if she should at least wake up Flame Prince, but decided against it, spotting his grandmother as she walked to the backyard. Turning, she closed the door, making her way into the house, searching for her parents and Marshall. Ah, please just stop touching it, Marshall said, wincing as the cloth was placed on his arm. Sorry, Marsh, but it's for your own good. This is a pretty serious burn. Did this happen last night? No, this morning. It's a sunburn. Her parents shared a surprised look. It can happen that fast, sweetie? Ellen asked, looking at his arm, then at his pained face. Yeah, but I usually don't make it a habit to fall asleep outside, Marshall said, making a stab at attempting humor. It didn't work. It's starting to blister. I think we might have to bring you to the hospital, Marshall. They'll have better medications than we'll find in my first aid kit, Steve said, dressing the burn loosely, staring at the dark-haired teen seriously. Marshall sighed, looking away. Okay. Well, Mr. Abidio, we've received your records from Mount Auburn, so we're safe to start treatments for you, all right? The overly cheery nurse said, making Marshall scowl. I give you guys permission. He's a male doctor. You know what? It doesn't say he's a male nurse, but he's a male nurse. I made him a male nurse. I gave you guys permission to access that information 3 hours ago. What the heck took so long? You're still under your mother's insurance, so we needed her permission as well. Are you kidding me? She knows I'm here? Yes, sir. She sounded quite concerned as well, if I do say so. Besides, she is your emergency contact. Yeah, she is a good actress, Marshall mumbled, hanging his head with a sigh. We need you to change into this, she said, offering him the hospital gown. Oh, never mind. She is a girl. Why? I don't need to get rid of my pants for you to look at my arm, lady. It's hospital procedure, she said simply as Fiona ducked out of the room, letting Marshall and the nurse fight it out. She sat in the hallway, listening to the soft steps of the nurses. Her parents had been called to work, her mother at the office and her father at home, easily able to pick the two up when they were done at the hospital, and with Marshall's ornery attitude, it would take a bit longer than expected. She had no idea how long she'd been out there, but sitting in the hallway, the sound of clicking heels caught the blonde's attention. Looking around, she spotted a woman rounding the corner and heading in her direction. She was quite tall with long black hair, and Fiona was sure that even without her high heels, the woman would tower over her. The woman was dressed in a sharp, well-pressed business dress suit, and to the blonde's surprise, she made to open Marshall's door. "You can't go in there. He's supposed to be changing," Fiona said, quickly standing and blocking the door. Immediately, the blonde was cut with a scowling look that shocked her. "I can see my son if I decide to or not," the woman said, her hands on her hips and one on the door handle. "You're Marshall's mother?" Fiona asked now, glaring at her. "Why are you even here? The last time you and Marsh spoke, you said you wished he wasn't born," the blonde hissed angrily, keeping her voice low. "Like you never said something you regretted?" her mother said now, lowering her voice to match the intensity. "I love my son, and when I said that, I meant it in a different context." "How the flip could you mean it in a different context? It all means the same thing," Fiona growled, being sure to keep her voice low, still able to hear the nurse and Marshall arguing. Suddenly, Mrs. Abadir blinked in realization. Why in the world was she arguing with a kid? "I don't have to explain anything to you, you little wretch. What happens between me and my son is no business of yours." Of course it's my business. I'm his girlfriend." Fiona watched as the older woman rolled her eyes. "Oh my, Marshall's new flavor of the month. Congrats, sweetie. When's the 2-week anniversary?" Ouch, that hurt. Fine, if she wanted to go with low blows, Fiona had no problem picking that gauntlet up. "It'll be 6 months next week since you know so much. That's roughly about the last time you spoke to your son, isn't that right?" she asked, crossing arms and watching as Marshall's mother scowled. Fiona, however, wasn't done. "I mean, of course, since you know all about that, then you'll know his psychotic ex-girlfriend tried killing him with a power stage light, and how she almost flippin' killed me when she kicked me down the stairs. But of course you know. You only call yourself his mother when it's convenient and beneficial to you. You should be ashamed, completely and 100% ashamed of yourself, your words, and your actions." Fiona snapped, her anger for this woman only growing. Hearing this, Marshall's mother drew to her full height. If this girl wanted to play with fire, she was going to get seriously burned, and that time was going to be now. "You know what? You're right. But as much as I didn't want my son, I do love him. I wish he was born to someone who would have had more time for him. When I agreed with him that day, I didn't mean I wished for him not to be born. I wished he'd have been born to someone else who can appreciate and love him the way a parent should care for and love their child. Despite that, I kept him. I carried him, and I birthed him and cared for him after his father died. It's more than you can say for your parents. Now sit down and shut up." Hearing this, Fiona swallowed thickly and turning away and stepping aside from the door, trying so hard not to cry, and watching as Marshall's mother breezed into the room. Once the door snapped shut, Fiona turned and walked down the hall towards the elevator. She really needed some air. Wait, I'm confused. Did her parents not die? Did they just, give her up? Or did they die? I'm confused. Anyway, whatever. Moving on. "Dude, look, it's just like he said. Fiona's right there." The dark-skinned male set his feet on the dashboard as he looked out the windshield of the van. "You sure, man?" the younger of the two asked. This one had light skin and was looking at the photo. "Positive, besides she looks exactly the same as the picture." What? What? "Alright, let's grab her." "Not yet, we have to wait for the other kid, too." "Yeah, but you remember what he said, right?" "Yeah, I know, bro, he's a heck of a fighter, but we're two strong guys, just get Marshall first. Then we'll grab Fiona, simple as that." "Alright, dude." What the actual hell is happening? Wait, are these guys, working for the sexual abusive foster dad? Okay, this is not good. This is not a good. I don't like this chapter. This isn't a good chapter. Okay, well, let's keep reading because we have to know, obviously. The moment the door opened, Marshall expected it to be Fiona, as he now sat in a rather pissy mood. having been forced into the hospital gown by the nurse after almost an hour's worth of fighting. He looked over expectantly and was shocked when he spotted his mother. "What are you doing here?" "Marshall, you're in the hospital more than 80 miles from home. Of course I'm going to see what in the world you did to yourself." Marshall showed his mother his arm, then snapped at her. "There, you've seen it. Now will you leave me alone?" "No," she said, crossing her arms. The silence was long and tense and seemed to last forever. Marshall started wondering where in the world Fiona was. Once again the nurse came back. "Ma'am, visiting hours are almost over." "I don't need permission to visit my son," she growled, rounding on the nurse. "Yo, do I need to be bedridden this entire time?" Marshall asked the nurse. "You guys slathered up my arm and bandaged it. Is there any more you want to do?" "No, the doctor just wanted to keep you for a few hours, to be sure the burn didn't progress." "Well, it's been about 5 hours now since I got here, and it hasn't, so I'm checking out now," he said, pulling the gown off and grabbing his shirt. "Mr. Abadir, Marshall, you get back in that bed right now before I open these curtains," his mom said, making Marshall scowl. "It's night time. You know what? How about this then? I'm going to sit outside since the sun's gone down, take a breather, and come back. Does that work for everyone?" "Oh no." "I don't see why not, as long as you keep your arm covered," the nurse said, and completely ignoring his mother's response, Marshall breezed by the wall looking for Fiona. "I don't want to read the next paragraph." I don't want to. I don't want to read. Okay. Okay, let's read. We'll do this together. She wasn't ashamed to admit it. Marshall's mom was a woman who could easily pick out weak spots and deliver massive damage with just a few words. She made her cry. Sniffling, she wiped her eyes as she sat on the bench in front of the hospital, aware of the truck van type vehicle that sat just a bit more than 30 feet from her across the street. She watched warily as two guys maybe 5 or 6 years older than her got out of the vehicle, heading towards the hospital. Fiona let out a sigh of relief when they walked past her, though moments later she heard a familiar voice yell out in shock. The blonde didn't even have time to turn and look before she was grabbed and quickly being brought towards the back of the van, and as she struggled against the man's grip, she kicked, and before she knew it, she'd been pushed inside the van. Immediately, Fiona scrambled away from the man, though her first instinct was to beat the heck out of him. "Don't do anything funny. Who are you and why are you doing this?" "Just being a good son, you'll understand," the lighter-skinned male said as the scuffling grew louder, and the darker male forced Marshall into the truck with Fiona. What the actual hell? And spotting the blonde, Marshall stopped fighting and made his way over to her, checking the blonde for injuries as the doors were slammed shut behind them. I think these guys are like the sons of the abusive foster father. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" he asked, tilting her face towards his. "No, I'm fine, but what's going on?" Fiona asked worriedly, holding on to Marshall tightly. "I have no idea." Suddenly they heard Happy shouting outside the van doors. "Yeah! Who's awesome? We're awesome! High five! Bro five! Slap!" "Fee, what in the world are we listening to?" "I have no idea." Suddenly, the doors up front Suddenly the doors up front opened and slammed shut, and the engine started making the two in the back jerk forwards as they began to move. The way the van was sectioned off, they couldn't see what was going on up front, but they could hear what was being said. "Hey, Dad, we got them." "Uh-huh. Yeah, we're on our way back now." "No, in the work truck." "No. Aw, why?" "Wait, is he not in prison where he should be?" "What's wrong, man?" "Ma's not making everything burritos." "That's crazy." Hearing them talking on the phone gave Fiona an idea, and she was stunned that it took her so long to think of this. Reaching into her pocket, she grabbed her phone, quickly dialing her father. "What? Oh, okay, yeah, I can hold." What the actual hell? I don't want to do this. I don't want to keep reading. I hate this. I don't like this. Okay, we gotta finish. "Fiona, what's the matter?" "Oh my God, Dad, some guys grabbed me and Marsh from the hospital and threw us in the back of a van." Suddenly the brakes slammed, and Fiona fell forward with a gasp as her phone flew from her hands towards the door of the truck. In mere seconds it opened, and the phone was snatched from Fiona's reach. "No," the darker male said, slamming the door shut again. "I don't want to keep going. I don't like this." I don't like this. This isn't fun. Steve stared in shock at his phone and switched back to Finn. Wait. I swear to Glob, you had better answer me honest. You had better answer me honestly. Did you two just kidnap your sister? They did what? Ellen screeched from the kitchen, looking at her husband, who shook his head. You said to grab her, Dad, but didn't say how. I didn't mean like that. Pull over and explain everything to her now. Come on, Dad, we're right around the corner anyways. As if on cue, Steve could hear his son's work truck. You both are so grounded, he mumbled, snapping the phone shut. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my. I can't. Ah. Okay, first of all, phew. Second of all, what the actual hell? Oh my god. Okay. Sorry, I need to take a breather. Sorry, I needed a breather. That was really scary. That freaked me out. Okay, next. Marshall held on to Fiona tightly as the truck took a sharp turn and jerked to a stop, keeping the blonde from toppling over once again. Suddenly, the back of the truck was opened, and they were being stared at by the men from earlier. Marshall nervously pushed the blonde behind him as Fiona clung tightly to his shirt, looking fearfully at the two. In unison, the two men yelped in pain as a hand gripped their ears, and as if by a miracle, Ellen's angry voice met Fiona's ears. You two are so grounded. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Now get inside the house, she said, marching in between the two, still holding on to their ears as they each yelped as she tugged harder. The moment they were led away, Steve appeared at the opening, and feeling utter relief, Fiona launched herself at her father, hugging him tightly as Marshall climbed from the back of the van and looked around, shocked to be at Fiona's house, almost falling from the van as Steve grabbed hold of him. What's going on? He asked, still looking around. Fiona, those were your brothers, Finn and Jake. I'm so sorry. Ah, what the... Suddenly the man collapsed. Oh my god. This was ridiculous. Out of all the kids to be snatched up off the streets, her son had to be one of them. She didn't care about the blonde. After all, they were probably Arabian slave traders that they could use her for something. But Marshall would shrivel up and burn in the desert, and that most certainly wouldn't do. Hannah sighed as she followed the van, staying several car lengths behind them to avoid suspicion and stopping when they slammed on the brakes. Hmm? What is happening? She watched as one of them whipped the door open, grabbed something from the back, and snapped the door shut before they took off once again. She had to give the two their credit. They did what they did quickly and effectively, not even altering the hospital's security. That was fine, though. If they wanted her son, she'd wait and see why. Oh, it's Marshall's mom. Okay, I get it. But if there was an opening, she'd take it. With a smirk, the dark-haired woman patted the tranquilizer gun she had on the passenger seat. She watched as they turned into a neighborhood and then into a driveway. Driving around the block, she parked, getting out of the car, just in time to watch the man grab her son, pulling him from the van. As she continued walking, she took aim, and with a clear shot, watched as the grenade dart made its way, lodging into the man's neck, before he fell to the ground, making Fiona shriek. My glob, you loud one. Are you okay, sweetie? She asked, looking at Marshall, who just continued to stare in shock. What did you do to him? Dad! Relax, it's just a tranquilizer dart. Where in the world did you get that? Marshall yelled in utter shock as his mom crouched down, pulling out the dart with a sharp tug. The internet. It's full of amazing things. I've had this since before you were born. So what's going on here? Dad? Fiona asked, now nudging her father, who lay unconscious on the ground. Her brothers kidnapped us from the hospital. Ah, I see, so you're okay? Why wouldn't I be? I don't know, because I just watched two men you obviously didn't know snatch you and your girlfriend off the street and shove you both in the back of a van. How about a little appreciation, Marshall Lee Abadir? Marshall cowered, leaning back away from his mother, and considered climbing back into the van as she towered angrily over him, even though he felt relief when Fiona's mother returned. If I didn't know better, I'd say that was Hannah Mitchelson. Turning, Mrs. Abadir simply stared at the blonde who was wiping her hands dry with the towel. Alan Walters, I haven't seen you in almost 20 years. Naturally, one gets busy when running the CIA empire, Ellen said coolly. You still have that thing? She said, looking towards the gun in Marshall's mother's hand. It comes in useful in trying situations, she said with a twisted smirk. Mom, Ma, how do you two know each other? Marshall asked, looking between the two women who, much to his shock, embraced like old friends. We were best friends in college, his mother said, Ellen wearing a matching grin. Today could not get any weirder. Yeah, that's crazy, absolutely crazy. Okay, well, anyway, okay, that was the second chapter I think I've read. I think that was the second chapter. Yeah, that was the second chapter that I've read. Okay, I think I want to read a third chapter, so we're gonna do that shortly, and I will be back in a moment. Um, and bye. Be right back. Excuse me. Alright, I left for a while, and now I'm back to do another chapter of Guardian Angel. Um,
But
I'm kind of hoping that this whole thing with Fiona's mom and Marshall's mom knowing each other will open the door for Marshall and his mother to have a better relationship. I'd really like that, because like his mom's the only family he's got left, so I'm kind of hoping that they'll have a better relationship in this point. Um anyway, I also just moved a bunch of stuff off my computer onto my hard drive. I got a hard drive for Christmas, a 1 terabyte hard drive, and I finally got a chance to move all my stuff off. My mom said she needed to show me some things and tell me some things, and so I was waiting until her freaking report cards are done because she was like, don't ask me anything, don't tell me anything, don't stress me out, report cards, report cards, report cards. That's what I always keep hearing when it's report card time. Report cards, blah blah blah. Don't stress me out. Don't add anything. Don't do this. Don't do that. Like it's just so whatever. And then report cards were over, and so I got her to tell me that stuff, and I got that stuff onto my hard drive. And I only moved like my writing stuff, which is the taking up the most space, I think, and the major amount of space. All right, we're gonna read another chapter of Guardian Angel, and hopefully, okay, why is there? Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna start okay, great. Um, I have to do a freaking captcha again. Hang on, it's making me do a stupid captcha. Trying to get to the next chapter, and I have to do a freaking captcha. So hang on. This is so stupid. Boat, 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 boat. That's a train. Sorry, this is frustrating. Okay, oh, perfect. Alright, next chapter, yay! Chapter 19, kinda creeped out here. Friends in college? You had friends? Marshall asked in shock. What did you think I did with my spare time? I wasn't always this way, his mom said, realizing the blonde who looked down at her husband in dismay. You do know you're helping me carry him in, Hannah. You've always had a horrible habit of tranquilizing the men that came over, Ellen said, crouching by her husband as Mrs. Abadir stopped to grab Steve under his arm. Together they carried the dark-haired man into the house, leaving Fiona and Marshall outside. I have absolutely no idea what in the world to make of this, Fiona said softly, her confusion evident in her voice. It's okay, I'm just as lost as you are, Marshall said, still staring at the door the three had gone through. Today's been a really weird day. Yup. Silence stretched between them. Want to get some dinner? Fiona asked as they both stood continuing to stare at the door. I'm trying to figure out if it'd be safe to do so. Eventually, Ellen returned to the door. Aren't you two coming in? Dinner's ready, she said with a smile before re-entering the house. Sharing a look, Marshall and Fiona walked up the driveway and entered the house, looking around warily. Everyone was in the dining room, save for Steve, who was now lying on the couch in the living room, still unconscious. Being curious, Fiona led the way into the dining room, with Marshall by her side. So yeah, it should wear off in the next hour or so, but some people have had strange reactions to the tranquilizer. It's nothing severe or allergenic, but sometimes they have strange hallucinations or lucid dreams, so it's nothing to worry about, Elle. Good, because I was worried. I love this one, Hannah, so be nice to him and apologize when he gets up, Ellen said firmly but with a smile making her friend grin. No promises. Now she turned to Marshall and Fiona. "What took you so long to come in?" she said, effectively bringing their presence to the attention of the entire room. "Sister! Little sis!" Fiona jumped as the two older guys rushed over and soon began rustling each other. "Back the flip off, Finn," the darker of the two said, pulling the blonde back and away from Fiona, who stared on in confused amazement. "Step off my buns, man. I'm the big brother," Finn said, trying to trip Jake, who easily sent him to the ground. "I'm the oldest, so wait your turn," he said, squashing Finn and pinning him to the ground, much to his annoyance. "Jake!" "Ha! All right, kiddo, my name's Jake. I'm your oldest brother," he said with a smile. "And just so you know," he added in a conspiratorial whisper, "I'm not the adopted one. That's crap, man. You're so adopted." "Nah, can't you see I blend right in?" he said, making Fiona laugh. "Besides, we got Finn here from a bump, traded him to us for a nickel. Talk about bargain shopping." Immediately, Jake was tackled as Finn pinned him to the ground, sitting on him. "I'm Finn, your big brother, now the middle child. Just so you know, if people give you trouble about being adopted and stuff, just tell them, 'My parents chose me. Your parents are stuck with you.' It gets them good and mad," he said with a grin. "But at the end of the day, adopted or not, we're all family, and we stick together as a family. So if that's something you weren't used to, you'd better start, because from here on out, we're gonna harass the ever-living crap out of you, and you'll never get rid of us." "Boys, don't you have something to say to your sister?" Ellen said with her hands on her hips. "Oh, right," Jake said, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. "Sorry we kidnapped you. And threw you both in the van," Finn said, now joining his brother in the apology. "And took your phone," Jake said, handing it back to the blonde, who accepted it. "And probably scarred you for life. But you're our sister, so it's okay to do that to you time and time again." "Like hell it is, Jake," Ellen said, glowering at him as Fiona laughed at the irony. Jake was tall and big. One could see he was strong, but the fact that he was cowering because of a woman 5 inches shorter than him and half his size was pretty funny. "Yeah, imagine doing that at the welcome party, though," Finn said, watching as his brother couldn't help but smirk. "That would be epic." Ellen just shook her head as Fiona tried not to laugh. They seemed to be okay guys, her new brothers. "I'm gonna go check on Steve and see how he's doing," Ellen said, shaking her head and walking from the room. Everything was moving in and out of focus. He felt sick. He could hear a purring, and looking over, Steve spotted the source approaching. It was just Cake, the orange and white cat. "Hey, baby cakes, what in the world happened to you?" the cat asked, tilting her head as Steve stared in shock. "Well, I don't know." "Well, honey, the best medicine is just some rest. Where's Fiona?" "With Marshall, I think," he said, watching as the cat turned to leave. "I didn't know you were from down south." "There's lots of things you don't know about me, baby," the cat said simply as she walked from the room. "Bye." "Oh dear, I think he's having some kind of reaction," Ellen said, walking back into the room. "Why, what's going on?" "He's having a full-length conversation with Cake. He thinks she's from down south." Hearing this, Marshall laughed, and Fiona couldn't hold back her amused smirk. "Dude, seriously? That's flippin' awesome," Finn said with a grin, looking around and spotting several wooden spoons. Quickly he grabbed them and looked to his siblings eagerly, and by some gut instinct Fiona knew something fun was going to happen. Only moments after Cake left, an all-out war seemed to break out as people scrambled into the room, and he could easily recognize the three of them. One was Marshall, but oddly he was floating. The other two were Finn and Fiona, who seemed to be having some kind of epic sword battle, and for some strange reason, a talking stretchy dog. "Whoa, Marshall, I didn't know you could fly. You're a vampire, aren't you?" "Yeah, dude, I eat the color red, 'cause blood's not really my thing, you know?" Marshall said, trying not to laugh as he grabbed an apple from the table and taking a bite and showing Steve the white of the inside. He watched as the man stared in shock and tried so hard not to laugh as he watched Steve stare in shock at Finn and Fiona's epic spoon battle, and ducking out, he made his way to the kitchen and grabbed the bag of bugles and some ketchup. Squirting some into his mouth, he grinned, fixing the chips into his mouth and making it look like fangs. Running back into the room, he dove in between the two blondes, battle-grabbing Fiona before biting her neck and making her shriek in shock before faking an exaggerated death as ketchup poured over her neck. "Oh my glob! I just couldn't help myself," Marshall said, faking hysterics, wiping the ketchup from his mouth and grabbing a spoon and pretending to stab himself. Ellen and Hannah stood in the doorway. "What the F? Shh, this is getting good. They're so creative," Ellen said in an excited whisper, watching as the group of teens and young adults all did foolish things at the expense of her husband. Finn was now sobbing hysterically over Fiona and Marshall's bodies, and Jake, for some weird reason, was rolling on the ground and barking between words. Once again, Steve passed out, collapsing on the couch. Dude, we so broke, Dad, Finn said, wiping a tear from his eye from laughing so hard. Man, we gotta do that again. Let's not have Dad get a tranquilizer dart to the neck next time, though, Fiona said as her two brothers nodded in agreement. So, I've been here half a year. Why is this the first time I'm meeting you two? Fiona asked curiously. School, Jake said simply. Yeah, and work. We mostly build places like treehouse and cool stuff like treehouses and cool stuff like that, Finn said, shrugging his shoulders as Fiona clapped her hands excitedly. That's flippin' awesome, Fiona said, grinning. So, what do you want to do for work, Fiona? I never really thought about it. I like the forest, so I wouldn't mind working in one. But what kind of job can you get in the forest? I hear ya, Jake said, shaking his head. Actually, I know a girl who works in the forest center a few miles away from here. If you want, I can see if she could get you a job. I mean, after all, summer's almost here. You might as well get a summer job and save some money, Finn said. But before she could respond, Jake cut Fiona off. Dude, you aren't talking about Lisa, are you? Yeah, man, she's not that bad. There's worse people. She's just a bit weird. There are worse people. She's just a bit weird. She lives off beans and in a tent in the forest, Jake said flatly. Yeah, but she can't help being herself. Shaking his head, the older of the two stood up stretching. Well, you two talk about forests and weird chicks. I'm gonna go see if Ma's done with dessert, Jake said as he walked from the room. So, you think he's okay? Steve's been quiet for a long time, Marshall said, looking over to the dark-haired man. He'll be fine. Dad's tough, Finn said, also standing as Marshall pulled Fiona to her feet. That was fun. Want to go play some games downstairs? I don't see how you handled two boys, let alone all the others they brought home alone, with the newest one you have, Hannah said, sipping on a cocktail she took the liberty of making herself. I mean, you were always dragging fixable creatures back to the apartment and it's always screwed you. That's why I brought the shrink gun. I just knew one of them would turn sour. Ellen, won't you learn? Is that all I'm going to hear from you? If I recall, you were just as bad as I was once, dragging home injured animals and broken boys. You did it all the time, too. Now I just focus on children, the blonde said, pouring herself a drink and grabbing a jar of cherries from the fridge and topping the sundaes she'd made. Marshall likes strawberries, the dark-haired woman said, swirling the drink in her glass and fingering the edge of it. I know you have some. You've always had a thing for shortcake. Hearing this, Ellen smiled and grabbed her tub of strawberries and drizzled some on the sundae before pausing. Han, let me ask. You know so much about Marshall, but I've never met a child who assumed so strongly that he wasn't loved. Why is that? She asked softly, picking up the tray of ice cream. Think on it and answer me when I get back, she said, walking from the room. Hannah watched as she headed down the stairs and looked forlornly as her drank before downing the last bit and grabbing her keys. She walked from the kitchen and passing the living room, she paused, watching as Steve was pushing himself up and rubbing his head. He, however, paused when he noticed Hannah standing in the doorway. I'm sorry I shot you, she said quietly. Thank you for being good to my son and to Ellen. She really loves you, and I'm happy she found that, she said with a soft smile before walking out the front door. Did she just leave? Fiona and Marshall sat on the couch while Jake and Finn lay on the floor, both playing the game. Ellen walked in front of her sons, placing a bowl in each of their waiting hands and stepping over Jake. She handed another bowl to Fiona and the one with strawberries to Marshall, who blinked in surprise and grinned at her as he took a big bite. Believe it or not, sweetie, the strawberries are courtesy of your mom, she said, ruffling his hair as she walked back up the stairs. Looking around the kitchen, Ellen sighed. Hannah always had a bad habit of disappearing when things grew uncomfortable for her, more like when someone began to pry. Shaking her head, Ellen began clearing up when she paused, spotting a thick envelope on the table. Picking it up, she turned it in her hands, and spotting her name on it, she opened it and stared in absolute shock. It was filled with money, lots and lots of money. Putting the envelope back on the table, Ellen quickly descended the stairs back to where her kids were playing video games. Marshall, can I use your cell phone for a moment? The dark-haired teen blinked in surprise, but nodded. Sure, he said, reaching in his pocket and handing it to her. Thanks, hun, she said with a sweet smile before turning and heading up the stairs. Scrolling through the contacts, it didn't take long to find who she was looking for, even if it was labeled as Beast from Hell instead of Mom. Pressing the call button, she walked out onto the deck, shutting the door and pausing it at the edge. So, you finally decided to suck it up and talk to me, huh, Marsh? Hannah, what the hell did you leave at my house? Ellen could have sworn she heard a sigh. Something came up and I had to go. That's for taking care of my son and whoever else comes crawling along. It's $20,000. I thought that if someone was taking my son, they'd want a ransom. I just figured it's better that you have the money since you'll only do good with it. Hannah, I don't want your money. I want you. I want your friendship and I want to hang around with you like we used to. And more than anything, I want you to be there for your son. You're like my sister and I missed you. And knowing that of all people whose mother you are, it's Marshall's. Hannah, why does he think he isn't loved? Tell me why. We have a strange and complicated relationship, Elle. But for it, but for it to get so bad that he thinks you don't love him, she asked softly, now sitting on the patio chair. That last fight we said That last fight we had, he said that he wished he hadn't been born, and I agreed. Hearing this, Ellen gasped, but continued to listen as Hannah quickly continued, but only on the basis that had he been born to a mother other than me, he would be happier. Ellen, more than anyone, Marshall loved his father, and as much as we both fought and resented each other, we loved each other too. I could never fill in that void. I could never replace that hole in his heart from his father. And if he hadn't been born for me, he wouldn't know this pain. He'd have been born normal, regardless of who his mother was. His father would have been Marshall and I. His father, regardless of who his mother was, his father would have been. Marshall and I would have been fine with that. But everything that went wrong in my son's life is my fault. His skin disorder, it's in my genetic history. Marshall getting shot, Ellen, I told him that I did not want to move, and he said that the town was getting worse and practically begged me to, but I didn't because the commute would have been too far. Everything's my fault, and if I told my son, if Marshall found out and we were so close then, he'd hate me and it would kill me. But if he finds out now, it'll hurt less. It'll hurt less for everyone. If he hates me and finds out all this, then he'll have nothing to lose to hate me more. He wouldn't lose his supposedly loving mother. He'd lose the woman who birthed him. That's not as bad. Hannah, you can't do that, and you need to fix this. You can't just play along his entire life like some kind of unloving mother and hide in the shadows wishing you could be there. Life won't wait, so get your happy ass back here and tell your son the truth, the blonde said, fuming and putting her head in her hands. You have always, always overthought things. And this, Hannah, you overthought this so much, it's close to completely destroying your relationship with your only child. A child I never asked for, and a child you absolutely adore regardless. Hannah, you love him. Why is it so hard for you to tell him so? You love him, I know you do. Now I'm not touching that money. If anything, I'll send it back to you. Elle, no, I'm not having it. Fine then, spend it all on my son and your kids. Use it all on his band support them for me. Or send it anonymously. I don't care. I don't want it. I love my son, and doing it this way, Elle, it's best. Best for who, Hannah? Your son just wants to know that you love him. And I do love him, and he'll know. When the time is right, he'll learn everything. Just do this for me, will you? Use the money for them and for him, okay? Hearing this, Ellen sighed. Fine, for them, but not for me, okay? Good, I'll see you around, Elle. With that, the call ended, and Ellen sighed, walking back into the kitchen, wondering just what in the world she was going to do with everything. Suddenly, the phone in her hand rang, and with a glance at the caller ID, she immediately recognized the name. What perfect timing! Hello, Billy, it's Fiona's mom, Ellen. Hey, Ellen, where's Marshall? I was talking to his mom a few minutes ago. Is there something you can maybe help me with? Sure, Ellen, I can try. Good. Recently and very unexpectedly, I came into some money. Okay. Wow. Ah. Alright, that's the end of the chapter. Mm. Should I read the author's note? I'm gonna read the author's note. Sorry for the very long lack of updates. Being unable to do so is seriously killing me. So via my living situation, it really sucks. For the first week we stayed with my mom's friend, who I can't stand, but after they got into a fight, we're staying with my aunt and cousin now. They don't have internet, so I'm doing a lot of writing. This whole situation is seriously killing my grades. I went from an honor roll student to D's and F's. I passed statistics with a D, and my biology class is the only class I need to graduate. I failed with a 57%. I needed a 60 to pass, so I don't get to graduate college. Wish me luck, guys. I'll try to find internet wherever I go. Okay, so that's the end of it. The end of this chapter, anyway. When was the last update? Oh my gosh. So, he started this book in, whoever the author has, started this book in 2013, and it was recently updated, September 6th, 2021. 2021, I mean, not 2021. You guys know. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's gonna be it for now. I actually have to leave for my movie soon. So, I yeah. My movie is very soon. About it's in about an hour and a half. It's at 4:50, so I'm gonna leave it around 4 and I have to start getting things ready. So I think I'm gonna be wrapping this up now. I'll try and upload both these videos later tonight. Like I'm gonna probably be home between 7 and 7:30, so I'll try and edit and upload both these videos. No promises, but I'm gonna do my best. And I might, like I said, not have a computer. If I don't upload over the next couple days, just know that I don't have a computer because I sent it into the shop to get fixed. Either I'm gonna be bringing it into the shop or I'm gonna be talking to my mom and looking at it with her. My mom's gonna look at it, and then if she can't fix it, which she probably can't because she's not a fucking professional, but if she can't fix it, then I'm probably gonna get my computer brought in. So just expect that I might not be available for a couple of days. Um, but I love each and every one of you, and I will be, but I will, regardless, if I'm not around for a couple of days, I will be back as soon as possible, and I'll be doing like extra videos and stuff. So, um, if I'm not available for like, I don't know, a day or two or more. I don't know how long it's gonna take. That's the thing. I don't know how long it's gonna take to get fixed if I do have to send it in to get fixed. And it's frustrating. And I just want to go and buy a new computer and get this over with, but I can't. So, I'm kind of hoping I'm kind of hoping that um my mom can fix it, or that the guy at PC Corner can fix it and we'll just go out and get a new computer, because honestly I'm getting freaking tired of this. And if he can't fix it, then I will just get a new computer, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But if I'm not here for like a day or two or more, I have no idea how long it's gonna take. But I am gonna be back as soon as possible. I'll be uploading extra videos, and but if I'm not around, like, I don't know how long it's gonna take to fix the computer. If, we do end up getting it sent into the computer place, which we might not, because, my mom's gonna take a look at it, so maybe she can fix it. I don't know, probably not. She's not a professional, she's not a computer fixer, and I actually have a lot of doubts about, letting her take a look at it, because, like, what if she fucks up and then my computer gets even more broken? Okay, I love each and every I gotta go now. I'm gonna go. I'm tired and I just don't want to record anymore. Okay, I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourself. You are valid, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.